quite the big to-do about Apple Music's top 100 albums of all time. They just finally revealed their top 10, just like within the last 24, 48 hours. I don't know. It depends on when I'm publishing this video. So I thought, just for funsies, I'd run through them. And I have not looked ahead to see exactly what's here. I've been staring at number 100 for a while, but that's just to get this set up. So this is a totally off-the-cuff, very unproduced episode of No Time to Rock. So anyway, here we go. Number 100, Robin, Body Talk. I remember when this album came out about 10 years ago or so. It's regarded as like a fantastic dance pop record, like one of the best of the 21st century. Hotel California from the Eagles, probably their biggest non-greatest hits album, although it was close to being a greatest hits album by itself. Hotel California, Life in the Fast Lane, Heartache Tonight, Astroworld from Travis Scott. Well, I live in Houston. Houston and Travis Scott have a little bit of a history together. Rage Against the Machine. I am honestly not a huge Rage Against the Machine fan. They were very, very unique. They were very inventive. I do think Tom Morello is a great guitar player. Lord, Pure Heroin, really inventive pop record from about 10 years ago. There was a lot of good songs on that. Usher, Confessions. I was working in Top 40 when this album came out. I basically know this album frontwards and backwards. Burial, Untrue, understated electronica, maybe. Might be a good way to describe it. A Seat at the Table by Solange. I have not heard this album, and I am surprised that Solange has had enough success that she would be included in the top 100. Tyler, the Creator. He seems to be well regarded as a creative mind. Listen Without Prejudice, Volume 1 by George Michael. A lot of people do regard this as one of the best pop albums of the 90s. And Freedom, Freedom! I think one of the top 5 best-selling albums of all time at this point in time. It took me a while to warm up to AC/DC because I was more of a Rush, Led Zeppelin, Yes kind of a guy at the point in which AC/DC became really popular. The Fame Monster from Lady Gaga. She was pretty original at one time. I think she still is, but not as relevant. Nina Simone. From what I understand, if you owed Nina Simone some money, she would show up packing. Where's my money? And one of the most soulful voices ever. Massive Attack, if you're into trip hop. But yeah, great electronic stuff. I don't know that that's my favorite Massive Attack album. Mary J. Blige, My Life. She's the queen. She's probably the queen of R&B when you get right down to it. Played a lot of her music on the radio during my top 40 days. Golden Hour from Casey Musgraves. I'm kind of surprised that album is so highly regarded. There's good stuff on it. I think that's the album with Slow Burn, which is a pretty good song. Doggy Style, Snoop Dogg. Well, yeah, Faux Shizzle, Patti Smith, Horses. The Godmother of Punk? Maybe. Get Rich or Die Trying. Played this on the radio a billion times. I didn't listen to the album at first. I didn't realize that the album version of Into Club was quite a bit different than the version I'd been playing on the radio a million times. After the Gold Rush by Neil Young, probably his most well-regarded. Harvest is my personal favorite of his. The Marshall Mathers LP from Eminem. Yeah, that was pretty genre-defying and defining when it came out. I love Lana Del Rey. I'm not sure that's her best album. Goodbye Yellow Brick Road. That's probably the pinnacle of Elton John's career. Like a Prayer by Madonna. Pretty good Madonna songs. I really did not like Madonna for a long time. And then there were some songs on Like a Prayer that I thought, I maybe can get used to this. I have limited exposure to Bad Bunny. I saw him host Saturday Night Live a few years ago, or maybe just like 2 years ago. From everything I hear, Bad Bunny's a good dude. Super Duper Fly from Missy Elliott. Can't Stand the Rain. Very inventive for her time. There were female rappers, but nobody was doing what Missy was doing at that time. The Downward Spiral. Everyone in Cedar Rapids, Iowa knew that I loved that album if I was driving around in my car. Asia from Steely Dan. Their music had a relentless perfection to it. There are no bad Steely Dan songs. SZA, SOS. As far as this, I guess what you might call neo R&B of what's been going on here in the last 5 to 10 years. There's some good songs on that record. Trans-Europe Express from Kraftwerk. Did I say that right? That's a classic. Sounds a little dated at this time, but not as much as you might think for an album that's maybe 50 years old at this point. Straight Outta Compton. NWA. I worked at a record store when this album came out, and so many dudes came in and bought this album. Master of Puppets from Metallica. I don't know if that's their best album. I might lean more towards Ride the Lightning, but Master is definitely in the conversation. The Strokes. Took me a minute to warm up to the Strokes because I didn't... early 21st century garage rock didn't hit me positively right away. This is one of the best albums of the 90s. Portishead, Dummy, Trip Hop. That's one of the best albums of the 80s. The Queen is Dead from the Smiths. This was my first Smiths album. It's just me, myself, and I from De La Soul. I like that song. The rest of the album, I thought it kind of meandered. I didn't really love that album as much as a lot of people did, but it's had a long-lasting cultural impact for sure. Erykah Badu, Baduism, very soulful record. I think a lot of babies were made listening to that. Jimi Hendrix, Are You Experienced? Well, duh. That one's a keeper. Tupac, All Eyes on Me. I didn't know much about Pac initially. I remember getting a single at the Top 40 radio station where we worked, and I'm like, I wonder what this Tupac is about. It tells you I was a little late to the Pac party. Just me and my girlfriend, though. I got the hang of it. Love Deluxe from Sade. Is this her best album? Might be. There were some really good songs on that. There were also some really good songs. She did an album called Soldier of Love in 2010. I think that was really good. The Velvet Underground and Nico. You can't think Andy Warhol and not think Velvet Underground. That's for sure. AM from the Arctic Monkeys. Good stuff. Sort of a modern alternative pop in a way. They get classified as indie rock, but I think they're fairly poppy. You know, I got to tell you, I was working in Cedar Rapids, Iowa when this came out. I didn't have quite the Cedar Rapids was not all jumping up and down about it. I thought it was a good record, though. I really liked everything that I heard from Oasis. Voodoo from D'Angelo. I think a lot of babies were made to that record. Disintegration from The Cure. That is their all-time classic Cure album, and they made several really good albums, but that's the crowning moment right there. Rihanna. It's actually pronounced Rihanna. Big album. She really did her own thing, and has she retired since then? I'm not really sure. Okay, so if you're one of those people that says, yeah, I'm into jazz, I'm really into jazz, and someone says to you, so what's your favorite Coltrane album? And you're like, who? Exile on Main Street, an album so good Liz Phair had to do her own version of it. Appetite for Destruction, a very well-crafted debut album from the band that bridged sleaze rock with grunge. I worked in classic rock radio for a number of years. I've probably heard Welcome to the Jungle and Sweet Child of Mine enough for one lifetime, but there are lots of really good tracks on that album. A lot of people consider this the best Prince album, or at least definitely in the top 3. And there's some good stuff on there if you're a Prince fan. Kate Bush, Hounds of Love, probably Kate's best album. Definitely a classic. Always had a lot of love for Kate. The Joshua Tree from U2. I wore this cassette out. And there was a bar I used to go to when With It Without You came out. There was a version of the 45 that had 2 tracks on the B side, and they played it 33 1/3. So that created some chaos if somebody selected the B side of With or Without You on the jukebox. You've Got to Fight for Your Right to Party was a song I was embarrassed to love when it first came out, and then I kind of didn't exactly get where Beastie Boys were going. So it took me a little while to get on their train, and then I eventually figured out as the years have kind of gone by and their body of work has accumulated that they really definitely had their own thing. Nobody else is the Beastie Boys. Everyone's dissing Drake right now, so I guess I'm just going to be like, why is this on here? Boo, Drake! Exodus from Bob Marley. If you're someone that owns Legend, because a lot of people own that, get this one. Bjork, Homogenic. Better than Vespertine? I don't know. Stevie Wonder. Even people that didn't like R&B and funk and soul in the early mid-70s will tell you that Intervisions was a great record and they were into Stevie Wonder. Talking Heads, Remain in Light, at their most talking headsy, and a great album. I bought this cassette for the girl I was dating when it came out. I was not into Janet Jackson. I was like, are you sure this is the one you want? Outkast did a lot of good stuff in a pretty short amount of time. I wish there was still Outkast. Aretha Franklin, Soul Sister #1. Illmatic from Nas. If you're into hip hop, that's classic. I'm glad that the best song she wrote, she was able to record for this album, which is a classic singer-songwriter album of the early 70s. Wu-Tang! The first time I listened to this album, I was like, wow. I was not exactly on the ODB train. Took a minute, and then I appreciated it. Beyonce, perhaps controversial opinion. I think Beyonce is a performer/entertainer who's a decent singer and a great media personality who hires great people and they make meaningful albums, I'm not bashing Beyonce. London Calling from The Clash, one of the best. They're best, for sure. It takes a nation of millions to hold us back. 911 is a joke in your town. I liked Public Enemy back in the day. Kid A from Radiohead. This was the band that sort of took the whole Pink Floyd vibe to the next level. No, I don't know if I want to say next level, but the next generation in a lot of ways. They sort of got to wear that hat. Biggie, definitely a hip-hop classic, especially if you're into that era of all that stuff that Puff Daddy produced with lots and lots of 80s samples. Jagged Little Pill from Alanis Morissette. Not a single bad song on that album. Billie Eilish, her new album I've listened to like once. I was hoping it would be as innovative and interesting as this album is. Not for all tastes. Tribe. Ooh, yeah, okay. I'm feeling that. Is this the album that Bonita Applebum is on? Tribe did some really good stuff. This is only number 28, huh? What kind of world are we living in? Zep 2. Wow, okay, finally a Zeppelin album on here. Zep 2. My favorite Zepp album is Houses of the Holy. But Zep 2, there are no bad Led Zeppelin albums, and I'm not really counting Coda. That album was what that album was. I didn't really love Presence, but that's the only Led Zeppelin album I didn't think was great. I don't remember what Kanye West song it is, but there's one in which he refers to a woman's breasts as two bee stings. And I was like, this guy's a genius, huh? Kind of Blue. Possibly the best jazz record of all time. Fairly easy listen, too, if you just want to have some good dinner music for people that don't even know anything about jazz or like jazz. Hopefully at least one of them goes, this is pretty cool. What is this? I hope that wasn't... Do you think that's where Kanye got the Daft Punk discovery? Daft Punk is good at what they do, that's for sure. Springsteen, Born to Run. His most monumental album is Born in the USA. I don't think anyone would argue that. Born to Run is the record that really announced to the world Bruce Springsteen is, this guy's someone to pay attention to. This guy's going to be around a while. Revolver from the Beatles. Okay, I knew there'd be at least one or two Beatles albums on the list. I never really got into the whole surf rock pop thing. I never appreciated the Beach Boys as much as a lot of people do. This album is more renowned for its production than necessarily how good the songs are. It was pretty innovative for its time. The Chronic. This is the album that really pushed gangsta rap into the mainstream. It really set the stage for a lot of things to come. And of course, it's Taylor's version. Who would suggest anything else? What's Going On from Marvin Gaye. Classic R&B record. Joni Mitchell. I don't love Joni Mitchell, but Blue is definitely her crowning achievement. Adele. She does not sing like someone who talks like this, eh? I would just about guarantee your wife or your girlfriend owns this album. And it's pretty good for what it is. It's soulful. Bob Dylan, Highway 61 Revisited. Okay, you got to figure there's at least one Dylan record here. We're getting close to the top 10. I wonder how many more. The Blueprint from Jay-Z. I think that came out in 2003. I think that's the album that he sort of reinterpreted Me and My Girlfriend along with Beyonce was on that album. That was a big radio hit. Did he run out of ideas? What happened? OK Computer. Yes, definitely yes. Fleetwood Mac Rumors, one of the best-selling albums of all time. It was number one for about 1 billion weeks in the late 70s. We're in the top 10, and wow, there's a Beyonce album here. This is the one that came out 3 or 4 years ago, I think. I remember that it didn't win the Grammy. A lot of people were PIS. Okay, so here's Nirvana's Nevermind. That album really took grunge into the mainstream. Top 40 stations played Smells Like Teen Spirit. Think about that for a minute. Amy Winehouse, Back to Black. This is a really good retro soul album. If you want to check that out. The lyrics are very modern, or I guess I should say modern for that time, 2006. Kendrick Lamar, I've never entirely gotten him, but he's unique. And this album was a huge big deal when it came out. Songs in the Key of Life. There's another Stevie Wonder album from the 70s that a lot of people owned and worship. Oh, wow. I think a lot of babies were made to this album. Probably some babies were made to this album. I don't think anybody would argue with you that this is easily, if this isn't the best Prince album, it's in the top 2, top 3. It was by far the best selling. It was a landmark achievement for Prince, ensuring that he will always be a part of the pop culture zeitgeist. Hey, I've been waiting to use the word zeitgeist. We're at number 3, and it's Abbey Road from the Beatles. Huh, okay. A lot of people would do that. Thriller's number 2, Michael Jackson. Okay, well then, You know, that was a huge album. And in my opinion, she never made another one because she knew she could never top that. Also, I think she decided she wanted to be a mom or something. I don't know. This was a big album back in 97, 98. Interesting list of albums. This was put together by a various group of people, some music artists, some songwriters, some producers. I'm not really sure how the votes were tabulated per se. Apple Music's 100 best albums across all genres of all time. You can certainly leave a comment. What do you think was left out? I mean, there could be, I'm a huge Rush fan, so in my opinion, there were probably at least 19 albums that were left out. So there's one of my more regular episodes of No Time to Rock and another one of my special episodes of No Time to Rock. And whatever you do, however you do it, don't you ever stop rocking.